The Ahsoka trailer is finally here, and in it, we got to see many cameos from the heroes whose story never got to be finished, with the crew of the Ghost finally returning. And yet again, they're facing off against one of the greatest threats that the galaxy has ever seen, and the Mandoverse has been building up to, and that is of course, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Greetings, once again, Acolytes of the Galaxy, and welcome back to the archives. The name Thrawn sends chills down the spine of anyone familiar with the Star Wars EU, and in recent years, this terrifying admiral has taken his rightful place in canon. Thrawn is someone who makes the Empire scary again. Our idea of intimidating Imperial leaders usually comes in the form of the two reigning Sith Lords that occupy the higher facets of the Empire. But Thrawn is different. Other leaders in the chain of command usually come in the form of Grand Moffs and governors like Tarkin, Tage, and Krennic, leaders who normally sit around a table and bicker with one another. However, Thrawn is the man who is hands-on, the one that makes the Imperial Navy something that is not only formidable, but nearly indomitable. But with Thrawn's return now at hand thanks to the Ahsoka series, what can we expect from this powerful warlord? What does Thrawn actually want? And can Legends continuity once again be our navigator? Or are we flying blind? Today, students of the Force and Acolytes of the Galaxy, we will be exploring what makes Grand Admiral Thrawn so dangerous that he can compete with the might of Sith. There is something very helpful that is happening with the Thrawn story playing out before us, and that is Timothy Zahn. The writer of all of the Thrawn Legends novels has been brought back for his canon iteration, and has written all of the canon books as well. Because of this, Thrawn is just as purely dangerous in canon as he was in Legends. But what this also means is that the canon timeline of Thrawn's story has actually been closely followed, and much of the Legends iteration of Thrawn now belongs to canon as well. Thrawn begins his journey as a man in the Chiss Ascendancy, loyal to his people and ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure their protection and survival. However, he is somewhat coldly extremist in his views and what he is willing to do in order to protect the people that he loves. Thrawn is willing to do things that normal Chiss will not do for moral reasons. Part of the Chiss's creed is a strict aversion to attacking without it being absolutely necessary. They would much rather be reactive than provoke a war, no matter how dangerous the building threat is. However, it was Thrawn who challenged this idea and decided to move forward with a preemptive strike against their enemies. In canon, this was a warring group known as the Gris Hemorrhage, but in Legends, this was the Yuzhong Vong, which the Chiss referred to as the Far Outsiders. Thrawn was a controversial figure among his race, as he defied the rules of not attacking without being provoked first. This won Thrawn many victories in naval combat, but earned him a poor reputation among his people, despite all of the wins. This didn't seem to bother Thrawn so much though, as he was more concerned about the safety of his people than abiding by the rules that would lead to their extinction. After all, his homeworld of Kassala was not a part of the Republic, as it was in the unknown regions of space. And if the Chiss didn't defend themselves properly, there was no one else that was going to come to their aid. But for Thrawn, everything would change during a fateful meeting with Chancellor Palpatine during the Clone Wars, a meeting in which both agreed on the coming threat that was the Yuzhong Vong. However, the Vong weren't entirely aware of the Galactic Republic just yet, and both Thrawn and Palpatine wanted to keep it that way for as long as possible, or at least until the Galactic Empire was built, and they could mount a proper military defense. However, the biggest wrench in their plans was the Outbound Flight, a project organized by the Republic to send a team of researchers and Jedi to investigate what lay beyond the unknown regions of space. What this would have done was to make the Vong aware of their presence, and perhaps provoke them into attacking the Republic and known space much sooner. Teaming up with the Chancellor, Thrawn thwarted the outbound flight, ensuring its total destruction. But this was the final straw for the Chiss Ascendancy, who had had enough of Thrawn's continued preemptive strikes, and they exiled him to a distant world on the fringes of Chiss society. He would later be discovered by the Galactic Empire sometime after their rise, and brought before Darth Sidious directly. The Emperor remembered Thrawn's brilliance in the destruction of outbound flight, and he was instated into the Imperial Navy. It was here where Thrawn understood his mission, and grew in Imperial command, knowing that he would be the single best possible defense against the Vong. This was his main goal in Legends, to protect the wider galaxy from the extragalactic invaders that were coming. As the clock was ticking at their imminent arrival, Thrawn was then sent back into the unknown regions in order to build up the naval defense, but while he was gone, something very important happened. The Empire was all but destroyed in the Battle of Endor, Enraged by the Empire's destruction at the hands of the rebellion, Thrawn patiently waited and built up his fleet of Imperial remnants before returning to attack the New Republic, doing so in the year 8 ABY, exactly 5 years after the Battle of Endor. You see, it was his idea that the Empire was the best possible answer to the growing threat of the Vong. He believed that it was the only force that could protect the galaxy from utter annihilation. So when the New Republic suddenly showed up and toppled the Empire, this ruined everything and caused Thrawn to fear for the worst. In response, he went on a warpath and cut through the New Republic, securing victory after victory and nearly bringing the entire governing system to its knees. In canon, it's only slightly different. Rather than meet Palpatine during the Clone Wars, the young Thrawn would actually meet Anakin Skywalker, and the two of them together would stop the Grisk hemorrhage and prevent disaster from reaching the Chiss people. However, the Chiss leaders would be compromised by telepathic invaders who corrupted the minds of the Chiss High Command and caused a civil war of Thrawn's people. This would be what caused Thrawn to get exiled and then be found by the Empire once again. Thrawn was then brought before Sidious, and he offered his aid to the Empire, knowing that it would be of help to his people. Sidious was impressed with his genius and his loyalty and had him put in the Imperial Naval Academy, instantly granting him the rank of lieutenant. Thrawn would climb the chain of command until being awarded the rank of Grand Admiral by Palpatine himself. Thrawn would work closely with Darth Vader on a few occasions, and just by observing how the Sith Lord conducted himself in battle, he would deduce his identity as Anakin Skywalker. However, Thrawn would wisely keep this knowledge to himself, and as a result, Vader worked very well with him, as they saw eye to eye on many things, but not all things. We know the canon story of Thrawn from here. He would go on to take on the challenge of crushing the rebel insurgency on Lothal, which would put him against the Ghost crew and Ezra Bridger. But now that he is back, which is unsurprising considering how familiar Thrawn should be with unknown space, considering the fact that he grew up there. Using Legends as a template, it seems Thrawn has returned to not only avenge the Empire, but possibly to act on the Emperor's contingency plan, resulting in the creation of the First Order. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the birth of the First Order all starts here with Grand Admiral Thrawn, and we could learn how they grew to power in the sequel trilogy. Thrawn himself is an absolute powerhouse of a being, not in physical strength or force power, though we've seen him demonstrate above human fighting capabilities. His true danger is in his massive intellect. His intellect is an absolute trump card in the Star Wars lore, not a super weapon or a massive amount of force power, but superior strategy. Thrawn is the war tactician like Kenobi is the master of Surisu. Thrawn wields his fleet how Sidious wields Force Lightning. By himself, Thrawn was able to take down an entire squadron of stormtroopers in order to secure his escape from exile, with nothing but rocks, rope, traps, and stolen gear. With only one ship, his flagship by the name of the Chimera, he was able to outmaneuver and destroy a New Republic defense force and escape an entire fleet. Just by observing the art of a particular planet or culture, he could decipher exactly how they thought and how their minds and emotions functioned. Using this knowledge, he could craft his battle plans to perfectly suit the opponent he was facing, and in some cases, he never even had to fire a single shot by simply the position of his fleet and putting it in the right way in order to transmit a message to the system that would then surrender. In this way, Thrawn secured victory hand over fist against the New Republic in Legends. In Legends, this was all aided by his Dark Jedi puppet in Joruus C'baoth. And now, there is not only a single Dark Jedi in canon, but two. Perhaps a master and an apprentice, and maybe Thrawn will be using them for his grand plan, like how he used Joruus in Legends. The bottom line is though, Grand Admiral Thrawn is likely the most dangerous man alive in the galaxy right now, and we are about to see his plan unfold. But anyway, my friends and acolytes, what are your thoughts on this brief catch-up of the origins and great power of Grand Admiral Thrawn? Are you excited to see him in the upcoming Ahsoka series? And what do you think his grand plan consists of? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting our archives. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.